Okay, I think our next group is the physical, chemical, oceanography, ocean observing. So, Dan.
Thank you, Don. Well, our group kept to the instructions. We had 5 for each section. Number 1 was really about visualizing data in an integrated context. That's, it's a simple thing to say, but there's a lot of work that goes on in this community in other tool suites, the MATLAB, the R, places like that. And a lot of folks will bring it around. It all comes around and gets back out to the user, gets back out to the public in all sorts of formats, but through the ArcGIS. So that was number 1. Number 2 really was about analysis, and this was a focus on the flexibility of the toolbox and the ArcPy kind of environment to tie together the pieces and the parts and to really enable that kind of geoprocessing beyond the classic GIS analyst, person who's running the GUI. It's a powerful environment where the oceanographer, the people who know MATLAB and these other tools, can actually get right in there, right in the ArcPy level and string together a whole bunch of geoprocessing and get a result. I found that to be a super rich environment. Number 3 was discovery. This kind of blends a little bit into the browsing context, but really the discovery, data discovery point was around CSW. Number 4 for plus was, right at the core of ArcGIS, the maturity of the vector data model and the utility of just using that kind of data model. A lot of folks are still working up their vector data over in places like MATLAB and other tools, and they're starting to see this is such a rich environment. Why do I need to do that? And number 5, it's a bit of a repeat on number 2, but not exactly. It's extensibility. Back again in this sort of ArcPy environment. These users aren't working with one tool suite. They're doing a lot of processing in the back end, a lot of different tools, a lot of basically, it's a complex ecosystem out there of tools and data that need to be used. And this is turning out to be a good environment, it's a flexible environment to piece together those parts. Now, before I jump into the minuses, anyone from the group want to call out? Did I just tear up your idea? Emilio.
So I'll just finesse the last point because I think the thrust of the way you stated the last point tended to focus on ArcGIS and using ArcGIS to integrate across all the tools. I think, but others can correct me from the group, the point was more about the strength of connecting it to other tools, not necessarily to centralize things around ArcGIS, but to be able to pass data back and forth to past processes. So the general extensibility was a plus in that sense. But again, not in the spirit of centralizing, but connecting to necessary tools.
Great. Thank you for elaborating on that. All right. On to the minuses. We had one that we were going to give it 2 votes, but we found a number 5, and it's the basic 3D, 4D data structure issue. I mean, we've heard it a number of times. We didn't really drill down into it in any super fine detail because that's what we thought we were supposed to be doing tomorrow. So the ocean is 4D, and the data structures need to be 4D. This is Z in time to a large, Z in time. Learning curve. That was a discussion topic for a while. It's a big application. It's a specialized application. Some of these communities of practice are useful tools. There is great. I know I'm switching over to the positives. Pluses, there's great documentation out there. Yet it is still it's a tough environment to really ramp people up in. 3 on the minus. Domain-specific communities. we got an introduction to, say, the ocean use planning community and the maritime community and these other community sites that Esri's put up. A lot of great tools out there, apps, ways to connect to users. Maybe we could have one, in more fine-grained communities, over in the physical oceanography and the chemical oceanography. If we could get some of those communities built out, that'll help on the learning curves and other issues. A big one, cross-platform. There's a strong there's a strong Linux and Mac community out there. We talked about that one for a while. That was that sort of caught some excitement. That was a real flare. And I'm saying cross-platform in the desktop environment. This is not about the server, because we all know there's good cross-platform in the server, but it's about the desktop. And number 5, a simple one to say, but hard to do something. It's the performance and stability. I mean, we've got this awesome app. It's all mostly in 32-bit. And I think people are kind of not exactly holding their breath, but they're wondering, when are we going to see 64? We've got big data problems. We've got large data sets to process, oceans of data, years worth of data. So we need more performance and along with that some stability issues. We boiled down a few on the interest topics, but maybe I'll just take a quick breather for a second to see if anyone from the group wanted to call out any of the minuses, want to elaborate just a little bit more. Yeah, sorry. Just one. We got one right there.
Sorry. I'm going to steal your thunder. To be clear on the domain, Don, the thing that we realize is that we believe that ArcGIS leaves capability on the table because people don't know about it. And when you're in a specific domain, you might need a specific capability, but unless you want to spend the time slogging through the documentation, you may not know that it exists. So if there were domain-specific online resources for the sciences and use cases, it might be a better outreach to the community as to how to use ARC to solve their problems.
Thank you. On the learning curve as well, part of it was unless this is in the interest side, the inertia, because people are already working in MATLAB, etc. There's a lot of people in the oceans system that already know how to use MATLAB, that it does everything for them. So to switch over to a few of the newer tools in ArcGIS, right? So.
Yep, that was first on my list on the interest, and I think to elaborate on that just a little bit was the raster tools. There's just like you said, there's rich raster tool environment out there, but people have been doing it for a long time in MATLAB and other environments. They may not be changing too quick, but there's that inertia, and it's just something to be aware of. Number 2 on the interest was about the connection to RDBM to relational database management systems. That seemed to be really a plus in a way. It saves the overhead of having to sort of learn and dig and make your own connection to the database. I mean, ArcGIS has already got that sort of taken care of. I can now get at all the RDBMS data or work with it without really getting in any deeper than I have to. Number 3, a lot of people are sharing data, or they're saying they're sharing data, but there's always a big argument of what that really means. I'll look out there and I'll see a map service. I see lots of map services. I go out looking for data, and I find a map service, and what it is a picture. It's not really the data. The data's not getting streamed to me. But there's a real legacy, there's a real practice of people saying they're sharing their data, but what they're doing is sharing a picture of it. And it's a tough practice to break because of scholarly interest in publishing, holding on to the data. That it's an awkward situation, but we need to figure out how to start moving data as well as the pictures of the data. And number 4, feedback. Is there some forum to get feedback within this, within a particular discipline? Right now, we've got forums. Esri's got some awesome forums up there, and you can put in they're sort of functional-based forums to a large degree. You can go vote on topics, and that's a good thing. I think there was maybe an interest in seeing, can we hone that into a particular user community? Can we have a forum for that user community and sort of build on that? And you know, there are threads of it out there, but maybe not a lot of people really know about it. It's something that can be grown. And that's about it. And we had a great group. I want to thank everybody. It was a collective effort. And, anybody else from the group want to call out an interest point? I got them. Good. Thank you.